Well, if you thought that by October the flower borders had more or less finished, just take a look at this one. This is as bright and colourful as any border in midsummer, and I'm told that it's been like this since June. Really wonderful. Very much in evidence at the moment, of course, are the Michaelmas daisies, and what a superb plant they are. This one is one of the Novi Belgii group, and they have wonderful flowers, but one disadvantage, and that is that they're very subject to mildew. You can see some there on the leaves right now. Now, if you want to control that, you've got to start spraying with a fungicide very early. You could use something like liquid copper fungicide, but start round about June time and spray regularly once every 3 weeks, right the way through the season. Another way of controlling mildew is to grow the Nova Anglii types. These seem to be resistant to mildew for some reason, but unfortunately the flowers of most of the varieties aren't quite as good. But there are exceptions, and this is one of them. It's a variety called Harrington's Pink, and that really is a superb colour, and you couldn't wish for more flowers than that. These are pretty easy to grow plants too, provided they've got a sunny spot. But if it's a splash of real red that you want, how about this ecclesiastical gent over here? This is the Bishop of Llandaff. It's a very old variety of dahlia, and for some reason becoming a little bit rare these days. I don't know why. Of course, it is half hardy, and it has to be lifted for the winter like any other dahlia, really, but my goodness, I should think that's worth the trouble. You know, some of these old cottage garden plants are really still tremendous value. How about this one if you want a tall plant in the border? This one revels in the name Chrysanthemum uliginosum, but the cottagers knew it as the Hungarian daisy, or for some reason, jumpers. Lovely name, I haven't the vaguest idea where it comes from. It's an easy plant to grow, and it has the strange characteristic that the flowers follow the sun round. So when you plant it, make sure that you put it in a place where you can see the face of the flowers as they're facing the sunshine. Well, with plants like this, the border looks really well established. So it's quite amazing to realise that this is actually just 1 year old. It was planted this spring. The reason for it was that the ground here was absolutely choked up with all those pernicious weeds that we all hate so much. Things like couch grass, ground elder, bindweed, they were all here in amongst the plants. There was nothing for it but to dig up all the plants, to heal them in the vegetable garden, and to get rid of the weeds. The way they did that was to first of all go through and dig it as deeply as they could, taking out everything that they could find. They then allowed it to regrow, and anything that came through, and there wasn't a lot left by then, was sprayed with tumbleweed, and that finally got rid of the whole lot, and then the old plants could be divided and replanted. And they've made this sort of growth in 1 season. It's absolutely amazing when you think that a plant like this was only planted in the spring. This one is Rudbeckia nitida, and it's made, what, I suppose, 8 foot of growth there. It's a super plant, but of course it's for a fairly wide border. It's invaluable in this situation because in this border there's a strange optical illusion. Now you probably can't see this, but the ground actually slopes away back towards the house, up towards the house. But the yew hedge is level right the way along the top, and that means it's taller at the far end than it is at the top end. And of course at this end you therefore need taller plants so that they can still be seen from the house.
Tell you what, Esther, I can understand why you're surrounding yourself with plants that remind you of the Mediterranean. It's British weather. We've had sunshine, rain. I shouldn't be surprised if we get snow next, and then it would spoil all these lovely foliage plants. This is exotic. What's that big climber on the wall there?
This is Cornetii from Japan.
That's hardy.
Oh, perfectly hardy. If only it would be sunny, nice sunny summer, it goes very red.
What, the leaves turn beautiful,
yes.
rich
Oh, beautiful.
autumn red there.
Absolutely beautiful.
I should imagine that grow well in a tree too. It's a very strong vine, isn't it?
Well, I want to put it up a tree, actually. I've got plans for it. Not that one, but another one.
Plenty of foliage, plenty of flowers. This curious vine here with the maroon hanging bells.
Not a curious vine, that's rhodochitum, isn't it? I don't know its other bit. Rhodochitum something something, and I love it. But it looks much prettier like that than if you put it on a wall.
Is that a perennial plant?
Well, it is perennial, but it is very tender. We keep it. We always keep some. We take seeds every year.
So you plant it out. Is it in a pot here? A lot of plants here are in pots, I see. So you
They're
take
all
them
in
inside.
pots. They're all in pots.
Take them inside for the winter.
Absolutely. Well, they don't all. I mean, these huge ones can't go in.
And these huge ones, daturas.
Oh, that's the most wonderful. My brother-in-law gave me that.
Goes with the angel's trumpets. You can see why, can't you? Those
It's
pendulous
beautiful.
flowers.
The reason why it's got huge leaves is because Susan suddenly found a new thing to feed it with. Before they looked rather skinny.
Are those flowers scented, by the way?
Oh, very. At night, if you sit under them, you go mad. I mean, you have rather like drug taking, I'm told.
No question as to these south-facing borders give you plenty of scope. What was the smell as we passed this plant here?
That's Chrysanthemums. It's a marvellous little plant. Flowers the whole summer. The bees are mad about it.
Tiny flowers, but lots of them.
Oh, but all the time, too.
I think that's a
non-stop.
perennial and
Oh, yes.
hardy,
Very hardy.
sun-loving.
Absolutely adorable.
And that beautiful warm orange, you know, is that a red hot poker of some kind?
Yes, Galpinii.
How different from the, you know, the normal, the typical red hot poker, the
Isn't
big
it?
broad leaves.
It's little tiny grassy leaves this has. No, it's very pretty and it's hardy. Well, it's come through all the last dreadful winters.
How long would that be flowering? I see it's already been flowering maybe a week.
Quite
more.
a long time. Oh yes, it'll go on. Again, everything will get clobbered by a frost any minute.
The big blue daisy, is that one of the fricatii?
Yes.
Aster fricatii.
Aster fricatii Munch. Absolutely amazing plant. That comes out, well, in July always, and it flowers right up to, oh, long after the other Michaelmas daisies are over. It's a Michaelmas daisy.
Named after, was it a German
mountain.
fricart?
I don't know who Frick. I think he was Swiss. He sounds Swissish to me. Frickart. Don't know.
And some authorities regard that as one of the best of all herbaceous perennials for the garden.
It is the best.
Long flowering, good blue colour, big flowers.
No problem. The only thing you must do, you must always move it in the spring.
What's the white daisy flower there?
I love that. That's Chrysanthemum nipponicum. And that is hardy, but it's such a wonderful white. Mind you, it's looking a bit flattened by this lovely rain, which I could do without.
Yeah. But it's obviously a front row plant, front of the border.
Yes, it does get a bit, I mean, it is flattened by the way, but it definitely, you mustn't push it at the back. It doesn't.
Lots of buds there too, that's going to be flowering a long time to come.
Well, unless our friend, the frost, comes.
I see a lot of daisy flowered plants in this border. What's that very tiny starry one there, very diffuse
It's
habit?
another Michaelmas daisy.
Aster.
Aster tradescantii. And it's a marvellous little plant, just beginning now. You see, I like to have things coming, well, in fact, I like things flowering all the year round.
Well, you certainly got that in this garden, and although I see very few spaces here, I suspect somehow you're going to be planting for many years to come.
I think you've probably hit the nail on the head with that.
I'm a practical sort of gardener, I suppose, so it's a great education to me to see the very high standard of gardening craft here at the old rectory. Just have a look at these tubs, for example. Now, you won't see, I don't think, tubs done better than this. They're absolutely crammed with plants to give this really tall, dramatic effect. And of course, at this time of the season, you can't see the tubs at all. Plants like this Cordyline australis, it gives a very sort of tropical effect. Now, that one could be hardy in the warmer parts of the country, particularly the West Country, but certainly not up here. It's the sort of plant that we might probably grow on its own in a tub, but here they're not content with that at all, because they've crammed in things like this Salvia fulgens, this lovely red colour here, and also variegated helichrysum. They've got a green-leafed lavender here. They've got geraniums and fuchsias, and of course our old friend cosmos. And it gives a really superb, luxuriant effect. Now, all these plants are half-hardy perennials, so in this part of the country, during this month, they've got to start thinking about protecting them from frost. And the way they do that is this. The cordyline will be taken out, potted up and overwintered in the greenhouse. And the rest of the plants, believe it or not, will be ripped out and thrown away. but not before they've taken plenty of cuttings to make sure that they've got plants to replace them next year. Much the best way of doing it, better than keeping the old plants, because you'll get much more vigour and eventually more flowers. The one exception to that is the Cosmos. That one is really treated a bit like a dahlia. It's lifted, stored during the winter and planted out again once the danger of frost has gone. Now, of course, a lot depends for the success of these things on culture. You've got to water them and you've got to feed them as well. And a good example is this one over here. This is our old friend and favourite Datura. Now, I haven't seen that grown in a pot before. It's been in this pot for 3 years, so it's a bit pot-bound. And Daturas are, at the best of times, prone to attack from red spider mite, and this one certainly got it earlier on this year. Of course, if it's pot-bound, it's going to be dry, and the red spider mite likes its plants dry. So to get over this problem, it is religiously watered morning and evening, and that has completely got rid of the red spider. It's also fed with a high nitrogen fertiliser, giving these very big leaves, and it doesn't seem to stop it flowering either. Underneath that is this marguerite, Chrysanthemum frutescens. That one is just the common marguerite, and look how good it looks, but not, in my opinion, a patch on this one. It's the same thing, Chrysanthemum frutescens, but this one is a new variety called Vancouver. What a wonderful plant that is. They look super from the windows, and of course they then lead the eye down the garden to this wonderful vista.